For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. I'm Nitin Gokhale. On Tuesday, the Taliban announced its members of the cabinet. The second Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan came into being, which belied all expectations that were built by many people who were backing Taliban. It looks like it's an old wine in old bottle in Afghanistan. That's the subject we are going to discuss today with a stalwart. You're on the gist. So, as all of you know, the Taliban, which was promising an inclusive government for nearly 12 months when the first peace overture was done by the United States, and of course, when it came to power suddenly on 15th August this year, that they will have an inclusive government, there will be proper representation of all ethnic groups, and of course, women have all been belied. No ethnic groups like Uzbeks and Tajiks are included in this. The cabinet is dominated by the Pashtuns from southern Afghanistan and some of them from eastern Afghanistan. Now, the cabinet, of course, is also full of individuals who are on the UN list of sanctioned terrorists, including Sirajuddin Haqqani, who is the new interior minister. What does it foretell? What does it entail for Afghanistan? Does it mean that it is back to the past? At least some of us feel that way. But let's ask our guest, Lieutenant General RK Sawhney, who was India's Director General of Military Intelligence and a man with huge experience of Afghanistan since the late 90s, early 2000s. General Sawhney, good evening and welcome to this program.
Always a pleasure to be on your show, Nitin.
Thank you, sir. So, what are your first thoughts about the cabinet that has been announced by the Taliban on Tuesday?
As you very correctly brought out, it is an old wine in the old bottle, and there is just no change. For example, as you said, these people proclaimed from the rooftop that it will be an inclusive cabinet. It is absolutely not. There is one token Tajik and one token Beg, which are hardly known. There is no Hazara at all, which means that they have excluded the Shia Hazara population altogether, and no women. And as you brought out, they have people who have got a very checkered sort of a record. I mean, most of them are on the list of the UN sanctions, and some of them carry a bounty like Haqqani. He carries a bounty of $5 million on that. So there are people who have been in jails in the various places. So I don't really know how will the international community reconcile with such a list of people and again sleep peacefully in the evening. I don't know really.
Exactly. But there's the other aspect which also needs to be taken note of is the fact that this looks like a completely ISI-sponsored, ISI-controlled government, because the political faction of the Taliban, which was based in Doha or is still based in Doha, seems to have been sidelined or marginalized, if not sidelined, completely. And the Haqqanis have got a prominent role in this. So, what does it entail for the region itself? And will it then mean that the Taliban will not remain united as far as Afghanistan government is concerned?
No, you are absolutely right. You know, this is the handiwork of the ISI. And as you found that their DG ISI was very much in the in Kabul before the government was formed. There were speculations about various types of people coming, but ultimately it is complete choice of the ISI. So, and now the Pakistanis have chosen this government, each member very carefully, and they have appointed themselves as facilitators. I mean, there can be many rude words for what they are doing. But they have become now the facilitators are the brokers. And I'm talking about some very printable sort of names which are being given to Pakistan. But the fact is that it is an ISI creation. They have absolutely excluded anybody whom they don't trust. So as somebody was very proudly proclaiming, one of their ministers, he was a bit of a jester. He said that this is their gift, because they have educated them, they have trained them. Absolutely. They are the ones, each one of them is beholden to Pakistan. Each one of them has his family there. Each one has got businesses there. So that is the shape of the things to come.
Oh, indeed. In fact, if we look at some of them, the top people who have been named by Taliban, the Prime Minister also is on the whose name is of course Mohammed Hassan Akhund, and who's on the list of the UN designated terrorist, is the man who destroyed the Bamiyan UN heritage site, and also somebody who's known to be very short-tempered, very kind of ineffective and unreasonable Taliban leader. And yet he's been chosen, much to surprise of many people who thought Mullah Baradar, who's now been named Deputy Prime Minister, would be the Prime Minister. So, do you see the Pashtun, dominance again playing the role here, and all the other ethnic communities being excluded as part of the Pakistani plan and the Pakistani kind of framework for Afghanistan, which would be dangerous for the world? Would you think?
I absolutely agree with you. Not only they have chosen the Pashtun, but amongst the Pashtun also they have selectively taken only those Pashtun whom they have got, who are their proteges actually, who will do their binding. So we are facing a very strange type of a situation in which they are loudly proclaiming a government and they are talking of inclusiveness. These are only the words, but actually the deeds on the ground indicate a hard line lot, which has, the worldview is very wrapped, if you ask me. So, and in this time, when 20 years, ago, they may have been relevant. But at this time, when Kabul is changed completely, Kabul used to have only 500,000 people, now there are 5 million plus. It was a destroyed, what do you call it, city and a country, which of course was because of these people only. But now they are coming to a different country altogether. So that is something which is worrying. How will they conduct the business of governance? That is the one which is going to confront them, and that is what is going to be, what do you call, a worrying point.
Absolutely. In fact, I was coming to that the protest by the women is continuing despite the threats by Taliban. In fact, today some reports have come that some reporters, some media people have been beaten up black and blue by the Taliban for filming that protest. And the women still continue to protest. So, right, as you rightly brought out, General Sawhney, the fact that in the past 2 decades, Afghanistan now has a completely different society than what Taliban left behind in 2001, or they were forced to leave behind in 2001. So, one of their major challenges would be perhaps to have a proper governance structure, have a budget, have income, have money. Where is that going to come from? I'm just expanding the discussion now from the cabinet itself. What would you think will be the main challenges for the Taliban?
Now that you're mentioning it, Nitin, when I came here in 2001, after the Taliban had been taken out, I found what type of administration they were running. Just to give you an example, there was no electricity in Kabul. There were only 4 generators. The street lights had been taken away to Pakistan. I promise. There was no running water. There were no lights. There were no schools. They had locked up all the schools. The university had been locked up. The shops had been locked up. The only people who were doing a roaring business were the barbers, because people were queuing up to shave off their beards. Now you see, 20 years now, they have inherited a country which is completely changed. By the way, the
Yes.
average age of the Afghans now is 18 years, if you seriously ask me. It's a very young country. So when you
Yes.
see these women, these bold women who are doing amazing work, they haven't seen the type of uh, government these people ran. They are used to a certain amount of governance. They are used to municipal services. I mean, I don't say that the previous government was a very, what do you call, honest government, but despite all the corruption, everything, it was a running concern. The shops were running. The, what do you call, electricity, 98% of the city was electric. There was municipal services. The banks had come out after the lot had been missing. ATMs were functioning. The colleges and schools were functioning. And sometime when you went to the Kabul or any other major cities, it was a heartening sight to see the girls and the boys with the satchels on their back going to the schools. So you see these characters, and I will not call them anything better than characters,
Yeah.
when they were destroying Kabul, when they were destroying all these cities, when they were living in the what you call rural areas, and because of their wonderful education in the madrasas in Pakistan, they completely missed out that the Afghans had progressed. The women are educated, the men are educated, they demand rights. Now, how do they confront them? And another point, there is, you see, today, the amount of coverage. They have got internet, they have got channels, they have got Twitter. Now, you see what happens is anything they do against them, of course, they will do atrocities which will not come to know. But any big thing they do will be broadcast all over the world. And these
Absolutely.
chaps, so that is the point. You know, they cannot go beyond a certain thing. And I must compliment these bold women who are absolutely without any arm and boldly, what do you call, shouting slogans against Pakistan, whom they understand is the villain of the peace. So what do? They slap some of them. Some of them they'll abduct. But can you abduct all the women?
You
Can you
can't.
behave with all the women? That's the point.
Exactly.
And
So
how will Pakistanis help them? That's the point.
that's the point. In fact, they could help them to create violence, but they can't obviously kill everyone there in that society, which is now much more progressive than it was 20 years ago. But moving on, General Sani, and sort of broadening the picture a little bit. This week, we have seen arrival of the chief of the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, the National Security Advisor of Russia, and last week, the chief of the MI6 of the British Secret Service coming to Delhi and trying to I mean, sort of discussing the Afghanistan situation with the Indian leadership, Indian excuse me, national security leaders. What do they actually want from India? I mean, why are they all here? Actually, they have no locus standi in Afghanistan right now, given the fact how the Americans left Afghanistan and how the British have played their part since 1947 and beyond. Why are they here, and what is their role going to be going forward?
You see, Nitin, you very correctly said. First of all, I will less we talk about the MI6, the better, the dubious role. But the
Yeah.
point is, you see, it is a project which failed, and Americans have a lot of introspection to do. Why it happened, how it happened. You see, now the point is that ultimately, when the deed has been done, when the what do you call Afghanistan has been delivered to the Taliban, to the horror of the whole international community, they have found that India, which is always understated its role, India is liked in Afghanistan because we never did anything which was against the national interest. We have trust of the people. We understand the people. And we have done nothing to destroy their well-being. We have actually contributed to it. But but they also understand that we know the Taliban quite. So any initiative which is taken in Afghanistan with the future governments, whatever you call them, I mean, whatever the government is there, India has natural part to play. India has got a constructive role to play. Without consulting India, I think nothing can be achieved in this area. Because we shall be, as I always call, the honest brokers. We'll be the people who will give an advice which will be for the good of the region and the world. And secondly, as our NSA, he is an expert as far as terrorism is concerned. Now, the whole lot of these worthies who are coming here, they have suddenly realized that they have given birth to a monster state, which is a threat to the region and the to the globe itself. How do they deal with it? How do they deal with this government? That is the point. So the consultation which is taking place, India
Right.
naturally becomes a part of that. That's my take.
Exactly. So, if we take countries individually, of course, Russia and India will have a role to play. Let's move to China. I mean, Pakistan may control the government because it has helped the Taliban, and especially a faction of the Taliban, very well. But Pakistan is a bankrupt state. It doesn't have money. It doesn't have funds. So, is it going to be the Chinese who are going to fund the Afghan government or the Afghan society going forward? And if they do that, what are the implications for China, Pakistan, and China itself?
You see, China have outsourced Afghanistan, unfortunately, to Pakistan. So basically, Chinese experience in dealing with the Afghanistan is in its very nascent stage. So if they think that if you think that these guys will move into this area, start investing, so I think we should be careful. They have been very careful wherever they go. So you see, investing a lot of money into an area which is not stable as yet is something they'll have to keep thinking about. And second thing is their threat which comes from Uyghurs. You see, although they have had some promises from the Taliban that this area will not be used and they will not give any sanctuary to the Uyghurs, but must remember that quite a bit of ETM people and Uyghurs have been part of Taliban for so many years. So that will not go away. So without stability in this area, to invest money in a big way in those mines which they are eyeing is something they will think about, and they will not wade in without proper analysis and without proper assessments. So they will probably come in later. But remember one point, Chinese have never given doles. Chinese have never invested in development. You look at what has happened in Sri Lanka.
They have
They
never
have got
involved in nation building. They have never involved in nation
absolutely,
building.
absolutely. You look at Sri Lanka. No, they have
Yes,
got a beaming airport. They have got ports there. But today they have declared economic emergency. That's their favorite one. What have they done in Nepal? So basically, and into the comparison, you look at Maldives where we have gone in, or in Afghanistan where we have gone. Chinese have always gone in for profit. They make infrastructure and present you with a bill which you have to pay with interest, and they demand stability. Every time their one engineer is killed or wounded in Pakistan, they ask these people to answer very rudely. They demand and expect absolute security. Will they
exactly.
be able to get such conditions in Afghanistan? I am not very sure. Looking at the
Yes,
lovely cabinet they have produced, if these characters are capable of giving them the type of environment they require, that is something
exactly.
which we'll have to think about.
Absolutely. And before I take some questions from the viewers who have joined us online, one country which also looks to be a little uncertain on how they should react to what has happened in Kabul is Iran. I think Iran has issued some very strong statement saying that they are not very happy with what's happening in Afghanistan, the fighting in Panjshir, and also the way it is panning out. What is your assessment about Iran's stand on Afghanistan?
I think it is a very important one. And I think you must remember that our foreign minister has been in touch with them. Actually, we had a little discussion with them only about 2 days ago. And we were surprised that they are very worried. Actually, they talked about the threat which is being posed by the Pakistanis bringing in their armed forces into Panjshir Valley. I mean, that is worrying for them. They
Exactly.
also brought in the fact that they have completely ignored the, what do you call, ethnic minorities. And
Right.
you must remember one thing in this, Nitin, that there is a complete belt which starts from Herat and goes up to Mazar-e-Sharif, which is a Dari-speaking area. So they are under the civilizational sort of a connect with the Iranians. And
Correct.
plus the Iranians have a stake actually in making sure that this area remains free of the insurgency. And they are involved with them. Actually, Hazaras are their constituencies who have been ignored. And the other day also were talking about what type of a government and people they have put there. There is no choice according to them. And I must say that was very strong statement by the fact that they questioned as to how Pakistan can send their armed forces into Kabul. So that is something again to be watched. And you remember
Absolutely.
one thing, that we had a understanding at one time when nobody came to the aid of Afghans. We Russians and Iranians did a commendable and honorable work. So that is something you can't forget.
You were involved in that Northern Alliance being supplied and supported in
Yeah,
2001 or
yeah,
even before. So that,
yeah,
of course, is a great story. In fact, tomorrow will be the 20th anniversary of your friend's assassination, Ahmad Shah Massoud.
yeah.
9th September 2001, he was assassinated 2 days before 9/11 happened in the US. But moving on, I want to take some questions from the audience and some comments. Pradyumna Ravi is asking whether the military takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban, will there be potential spillover of the radical religious extremism over Central Asian countries? General Sani?
I think that's a very important issue. You see, military takeover, no, it has they have been gifted this, so they have not taken over.
That's
They
a
have
good
not fought.
clarification. Yes, that's
Yeah,
a good
they have been
clarification.
gifted. If you
Yes,
really ask me, the stories will be written later on because the
right.
Afghans were not allowed to fight. That is something which we can discuss. No, yes,
Absolutely.
of course there will
We
be a
have
spillover.
discussed a little bit. We have discussed.
Yeah,
You were very
yeah,
generous with
yeah,
your assessment that day, and you have talked about it. But yes, going ahead, what about the
yeah.
Central Asian countries?
You see, Central Asians are very rightly worried because Taliban are a mix of all cocktail of all sorts of nationalities, jihadis. They have got noted criminals. So those who had been locked up have been unlocked. That is under pressure from what do you call America because they wanted this ridiculous deal with them. So you see, the Central Asians, Tajiks, Uzbeks, what do you call these, Turkmenistan, everybody, and Iranians again,
Yes.
because those chosen terrorists, the chosen people who have already got blood on their hand, they are let loose. And the type of government which is being formed here now, I don't think they have got a control over the whole country as such. So I think Central Asian republics are very rightly worried that these goons will start having, forays into their area. So that is the worry Tajikistan has got, Uzbekistan has got, and they are strengthening their borders. And I want to tell you, the boundary, for example, Amu River, which flows between uh, uh, this northern Afghanistan and Tajikistan, for example, can be waded through there and places only knee-deep water. And that's the
Yes.
big worry these people have got.
Exactly. So, there are several observations. I think I'll take this as a final thing because we are running short of time. But this comment that it looks like India is not doing anything for Northern Alliance despite we have base at Tajikistan. How would you look at this comment? Because you would know a little more than we do, General Sani. And is India out of the game as far as Afghanistan is concerned? What is your view on that?
First of all, we never played a dirty game in Afghanistan. I can tell you that we did a very honorable thing. We helped a person like Masood, and we never did anything underhand in that. We can always raise our hand, absolutely raise our hand in honor. We helped them, we'll continue to help them. But we are not unrealistic. You see, we are also not bluffers. We are doing things which will continue to do things. We have got to connect with Afghan people. That connection can never be obliterated by Pakistan or their proteges which are in government today. We will
Right.
continue to highlight their problems. We'll continue to tell the world as to how they are being suppressed. We'll continue to tell the world and support their voices. What is important these days is what is important in the modern world is the voices which is required to be broadcast to all whole of the world. We'll continue to tell people that they cannot excuse these goons who have taken over the country, and it is not an inclusive government. And we'll continue to tell them that if they suppress them, if they, what do you call, try to push them back into the medieval ages, they will be their voice. We'll do that. And we have got other leverages, but all those leverages are civilized. Our methodologies are very open. We do
Right.
diplomacy. We do
Exactly.
diplomacy, we do insurgency. That is
Exactly.
our strong point and will continue to be a strong point.
Absolutely. One final question, General Sawhney. This is a question from a viewer and even my question. When the Pashtuns sort of have come to power in Kabul, would they honor the Durand line, which has been their stand, that Durand line they don't recognize? What would be Pakistan's stand then if that happens?
You see, the point is that Pashtuns, when you bring them up in Pakistan and you keep them locked up there or under your own eye, they talk differently. But the
Correct.
air of the Kabul, when you reach Kabul and you reach the smell the air of Kabul, you suddenly realize that you are a different country and you can't be subjugated by a, what do you call, by your neighbor like Pakistan. And this Durand line, to accept Durand line by Taliban would not be possible at all because their ethos is different. I am absolutely certain that when they breathe the fresh air of Kabul and when they start, believing that they are an independent, ferociously independent country, they
Right.
would not like to be a vassal state of Pakistan. So their core issue, core agenda, which is that there exists no Durand line, it is an imposition, will come back to fore. I can absolutely be certain, I can tell you that, because they cannot exist in that country and accept Durand line. That is my view. And that will come to
Absolutely.
fore very soon.
Absolutely. General Sawhney, one comment from a viewer is actually a tribute to panelists like you, guests like you. Somebody, Sai Prasad Vishwanathan, has said this channel, our channel, this StratNews Global is brilliant. Please use the power of social media wisely. I want to thank you and all our panelists who join us on a daily basis and all our guests for giving us this opportunity to bring them on the channel, and their views are important for our viewers who like the way we presented and the way we listen to the opinion of the panelists. So I wanted to thank you before I close this program. As usual, very insightful and very wise comments from you, General Sawhney. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will of course keep coming back to you whenever this subject is discussed on our channel. Until the next time, it's goodbye. But viewers, keep joining us in such large numbers. Keep encouraging us, keep sending comments, which we will highlight. And of course, you know where to reach us, give feedback, and of course, support us financially if you can. Visit our website, you know how to support us. There are details there. Or otherwise, reach us through DM on Twitter or email to us. All the addresses are given in the link in the YouTube as well as on our social media channels. Until the next time, it's goodbye.